Hi guys. So I just wanted to do a review on the video I was talking about. So what I'm going to show you there is the video that I made asking, is it tough being a young person in Ireland? And an overwhelming amount of people said yes. So I'd like to actually read your comments out and see what you guys had to say, which I think would be very fascinating. And don't mind the boxes in the background. A lot of stuff that we were just moving around for Christmas to get ready. Hope you all had a good Christmas. I've been saying that, but I genuinely mean it. So, yeah, let us know if you did have a good Christmas. And I think we'll just hit the ground running on this one. We'll get straight into it. And I'll review everybody's comments. I think we'll go into detail about it. Screw it. I'll go through all of them. It'll be a deep dive and I'll discuss it as I go. Because the eyes have it really. So many people from so many different generations said yes. They did. Like they find it difficult. They think it's tough for young people, even if they're not a young person themselves. Not that I'm being ageist, but so many people have said it. Like it's by far my most commented on video. It's my most liked video. Nearly 60 likes. There was 1,461 views. So that is like, I mean, I know my shorts get an awful lot of views, but the video is 28 minutes long, and think one where I talk about a night out in Dublin, weirdly enough, which has a lot, 548, but as you can see, it comes nowhere even close. It only has like 14 likes, so this one clearly hit home with a lot of people, and I'm glad that you did share your opinions. That's what I'm all about. I love hearing your voices. Got a lot of subscribers from that video as well, and I think it shows that people's mental health is suffering as a result. So let's get into it, guys. Let's look at it and let me know what you think. Right. So I'll give you all a mention as well. Commented, so I assume that you don't mind. But yeah, you can just see it here. Basically, me talking about Ireland being a first world country, wealthy, yeah, a lot of good qualities. And I always talk about how wonderful Irish people are because we are. We're great. I'm gonna just say that, we're a good bunch. When you go abroad, you really realise just how easygoing we are. We're always up for a laugh, like, and we're loved around the world. It's funny because when people ask you, "Are you English?" you can hear a bit of hostility in their voice. And they go, "Oh, Irish, yeah, great. We love you." So, not that I ever think you should hate anyone, but you know, it just shows you the way we are. But we're losing it, I do think. I think we're losing our core self, and I don't like to say it, but it does seem true. Um, and I just talk about it here, where you'll see me like right here saying, "Oh, shut up and stop being a snowflake." Back in my day, we didn't have half the shit you take for granted, and we made do. I've heard that one. That's why I mentioned it. And yeah, it does absolutely nothing to address the problem, and it does invalidate people. And then like this is what I'm saying. You might think it's a bit dramatic. I don't know how many people actually read the description of the video. I always like to make one just in case. Seeing the background story might help people just decide whether they will watch it or not. And kind of just how I was thinking when I made it. So internalizing your problems, big issue, huge thing. Like that's shame and guilt that you're putting on yourself fucks you up in the head, like, and you start thinking to yourself, "Oh my god, I am weak. I am just being a snowflake. I'm being a coward." Like, I'm not denying that the older generation, a lot of them will be tougher. Yeah, well, ask yourself why that is. You kind of will do whatever you have to survive. Humans are great at surviving, but we've gotten this far. Um, the comfort zone is difficult, like to get out of, because when you fall into comfort, we are creatures of comfort and we take a lot of things for granted. I'm perfectly willing to accept that. But these statements that I'm after mentioning here, you know, all lead to the final solution, ending it all. And then, like, it doesn't do anything to solve the problem. Why didn't they tell me? How many times do we hear that? That's the whole purpose of this channel. Is I want to stop people from ending their own lives. I want to give people somewhere where they can reach out, and you have, and I thank you so much, like, for saying that. I think your thoughts mean a lot to me. And if you feel like you haven't had a voice before, I'm really hoping that I gave you one here and you felt validated, because I felt invalidated a lot, invalidated. But how many times do we hear, like, why didn't someone tell me? If only we'd known what they were going through. I hear that all the fucking time. But yeah, when someone does decide to take their own life, it's terrible. But let's not let it get to that stage. You know what I mean? Like, it's we all remember people fondly. But look at Caroline Flack and Liam Payne. People are talking very fondly of them now that they're dead and took their own lives. But people treated them both like absolute shit while they were alive. Do people have to go and take their own lives to get any fucking sympathy? Ridiculous. Like, and the amount of times I thought to myself, and I'll be brutally honest with you here, if I attempt, I don't want to go through it, but I want people to realize how much pain I'm in. Like a cry for help, that's what you would call it. And I had Stephen, my mate that I went to see in Fibber McGee's, and he was talking to me about it. And if you want to check that out, you can. His was more, you know, internalizing problems, and then like slashing himself, cutting himself deeply with a bottle, and it's nasty stuff. How can you not have sympathy for someone like that? But this is a result of us telling people to man up, toughen up. You don't have it that bad. Clearly, a lot of people are suffering. There's a lot of people, even the older generation, and I'm glad that you guys reached out as well. Um, and that's what I'm talking about here. I take absolutely no pleasure in saying it, but it is a fucking bleak future. What can I say? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Yeah, I like to offer a bit of hope. And you guys give me hope. You really do. And I'm really happy that you did all put your comments in. That's why I aim to do this, you know. But yeah, just want to make another point before I get into it. Now I'm going about it along with the way, but bear with me. I will get into it now. Um, all shoulda, woulda, coulda. um, it is a reactive environment for sure, rather than well, let's say proactive. That's why I've highlighted them there. Um, and yeah, I don't want to see anybody else take their own lives before we realise there's a problem. And if you look at the soothing side stats, you know where I'm talking about there. Um, don't want to be blacklisted, but if the stats are ridiculously high, and as someone who's been at that point, my deepest sympathies go out to you, like genuinely. Not to sound all cringy or whatever, but I genuinely mean that. Like, I sympathise with anyone who feels that way, because I've been there. Believe me, it's not nice, and I don't want anyone to get to that point. Even if you're thinking of it, that's too far. We shouldn't accept it, but we do, because things are bleak. But anyway, let's get into it, guys. And thank you again. So, we're going to get into the first one. Jer Hughes, 6854. Generations of young Irish will suffer because of these unvetted economic immigrants taking our resources. Love the vids, mate. Keep them coming. Really appreciate that, Jer. Thank you very much. And look, it's not a thing of them versus us, but he's right. If you let everybody in without vetting them, then naturally there will be a few bad eggs. And I've said it before, I've worked with so many really good foreign people who are very nice, hardworking as well. So I'm not shitting all over foreign people. It's not the Irish lads shitting all over the people fleeing war zones or whatever. But naturally, if you let in 100,000 people, safe to say that some of them are going to be bad eggs. You know, like there'll be 100 people of them that are not upstanding citizens, and people who think negatively and have this real, parasitic type of mindset. They'll gladly hop on the bandwagon and come over, and they will take resources. They will abuse the system. We like to have this nicey nicey approach and think, oh yeah, nobody would do that. course they fucking would. There are bad people out there. So let's stop beating around the bush and admit there's bad people from all walks of life. And if you basically give them a free ride and go, you don't have to do fuck all here, we'll hand you everything you want, we'll fast track you, to the healthcare system. Loads of people, and myself included, are just told, oh, we have a waiting list as long as your arm, we have all this shit going on. And then you see people coming over and getting seen to before you while you patiently wait. You're like, who wouldn't be pissed off by that? We're not being looked after in our own country. But let's go into this. I'm going to go through all of them. This will be an in-depth analysis, guys. I like to do an in-depth analysis. Yeah. So I agreed with Jer on that 100%. The people might glance over that and think, oh, he's racist. No, read it. It's true. Like, and the future are going to suffer. Of course they will. He's dead right with that. And I just spoke a little bit there about my experience. And I've made a video on that. But if you want to have a read of it there, it's a long enough one, so I'll paraphrase. But basically, what I was talking about there was in my school where I went, there was a lot of North African kids. So they would be Muslim, like the likes of Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, Egypt, etc. And yeah, I ended up getting on well with a few of them. Just realizing what's the point in arguing around? We actually like each other. We're actually quite fond of each other. But the teachers did nothing to help in that regard because all we ever studied in school, and I'm not being funny here, was Islam. That's all we did. We went to the mosque. They didn't have to actually sit in the religion class if they didn't want to, but we learned all about their religion. And you're kind of thinking to yourself, and bear with me when I say this, but you're in our country. You should learn about our religion and how we do things and happily respect you. No issue with that at all. Like my auntie's married to a Pakistani lad who has completely assimilated, worked hard, has never been out of a job since he arrived, has taken every bit of help that has been offered to him, just won an award there as being a diligent employee. So a big shout out to Asif. Well done, Uncle Asif. You did very well. We're very proud of you. And we love him. He's family as far as I'm concerned. So do not start saying all this negative shit of, oh, you're just anti-immigrant and all. No, not at all. But I'm anti shitting all over the native population and telling us all we're thick and we don't know fuck all about anything. Do you know what I mean? It's like, how are we supposed to have any confidence? You tell us we don't know anything about our own religion, yet you don't teach us anything about it. You tell us that all the Muslim kids are great and we should all aspire to be like them. Meanwhile, they're putting on a show and they're acting great. Yeah, yes, sir, no, sir, three bags full, sir. But it's all fear based, They act like that in front of their parents. But as soon as they're away from them, they're threatening people. And I've mentioned it here. There were a couple of kids now that used to rob Irish kids outside the mosque, your place of worship. So that's very good, isn't it? Not all, of course not, but that's pretty sick, Imagine going to Sunday Mass and then outside the church robbing people. Not fucking on. Yeah. And look, that could get a bit heated, so I'm just going to leave it on that. But if you shit all over people and tell them they're wrong in every way, and then, like, just to end it on, we were doing a thing about the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not covet thy neighbour's wife, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not. And they wanted it all listed as, oh, thou shalt not do this and that. They wanted an Aramaic. But then the Muslim lads would say, don't do this, don't do that. And you're kind of there thinking, okay, I could tell you that, don't stab someone, don't rob from someone, don't do what, but you're kind of like, yeah, okay, fair enough, but anyone can say that. That's just how to be a good fucking human being. And they're like, oh, aren't they brilliant, aren't they? No, like, stop doing that. And I had a Libyan guy before in school who used to call me a fat shit, used to threaten me all the time. And I got pissed off and we challenged me. He challenged me to a fight, actually. I said, yeah. and he was actually arranging for people to hop on me, like get me after school. While he cycled off, he was arranging for like six people to batter me. And I said, I'll fucking fight you, yeah. And then a few lads heard of it and said, if you get anyone after him, we're stepping in for him. So it's got to be fair. And I caught him cycling away, and I was pissed off. This fella had been giving it to me, giving it non-stop all week. Back when I was way more neurotic and almost psychotic as well. But I went after him. I said, "Where you go? You've been threatening me all week, and now what are you doing? You're running away like a coward." And his mum pulled up in the car and said to me, "Why are you picking on my son?" I said, "Do you know what your darling boy's been getting up to? He's been threatening me." She hadn't a clue. She just assumed he was innocent. Um, so that naivety from the parents, but also like the teachers used to always shit all over us, tell us that we were terrible, basically, and then these guys were brilliant. Aren't they wonderful? Their culture's so much better than ours. You guys are all thick, you don't know anything. You're kind of going, you don't teach us anything, and you tell us that we're all stupid. And anything we do learn about Irish culture is all miserable. Alcoholism, war, and I used to love learning about Tyrn and Og and all the folklore. I know that's not history, but there is no actual land of the young. Although if there is, sign me up. So yeah, thank you very much again for that, Jer Hughes, 6854. Make sure I don't miss out on anything. Yep, great. Then we have FPSI Ireland 2. One moment, please. I'm kind of busy. Yes. What do you need it for? Well, I have laptops there if you want to use them. Well, they're not actually. Hmm. Sorry, guys, got a little distracted there. Um, so we have FPSI Ireland 2. 100% agree. Many of my own friends are immigrants, children of immigrants, and they say the same bloody thing. You see some of them, the Poles, for example, Polish people, FYI. Many of them came here after the fall of communism and all that, and they even are shocked at the level of preferential treatment given to these new immigrants. The problem is they get this preferential treatment, and so they think they can take advantage. None of the pro immigration people have the balls to admit that. And I'll say it now, I'm very pro immigration, just not pro madness. 100% agree. And like that's an interesting point. So thank you for making that. Um, I love the Polish. I think they're a good bunch. Very hard working. I worked with a few of them on building sites, and I've got to say it, guys. They put the Irish to shame. Not only do they work for cheaper, but they're very diligent. Credit where it's due. They're a bit serious, but I think we're softening them up. Um, no, they're good people. They have a lot of pride in their work, and I love that about them. Love a good drink as well, just like ourselves. Um, but that's exactly it. Like even they're saying it because obviously they're coming over with the right attitude. It's like I'm going to go out there and I'm going to work. I'm going to respect the country I'm in. Now there's a few of them as well that I've met that don't, but I have to say majority of them do. Um, a lot of them are good people, and I've met a few of them. They are obviously seeing this and thinking, "What the hell is going on?" And if you look at Dominic Tarzinski, is that his name? The Polish Prime Minister. I like the way he talks. I think he's very clever. Um, and I just think that he's got the right idea. And when he says it, like when he's in front of members of the EU and you're one Ursula von der Leyen, he basically just goes, Have you ever looked at the definition of refugee? Someone who is fleeing war to the nearest safe country. That's why he said we will take in as many Ukrainians as possible, and they took in something like 2 million. He said no problem. But if you're fleeing from the Middle East, that's miles away from Poland. And when he schooled people basically on the definition of refugee, they had absolutely no answers. You know, you could label him far right and all this shit, but he started basically going, Poland have never had any colonies. We never colonized anywhere. As a matter of fact, we were fucking bombarded by the Germans, and um, Poles are Slavs, you know, Slavic people. And the word slave comes from Slav, so make of that what you will. But I like this part at the end, before I start mentioning words I shouldn't be. Um, but yeah, I like the bit at the end where it just goes, and I'm pro immigration, but not pro madness. And that's exactly it, you know. Like I've met many good people from abroad and no issues with them. You know, they treat me well, I treat them well, I learn about their culture, I tell them a little bit about mine, and when I tell them they're interested to know more. That's what I want. That's what we should all want. We shouldn't be like, oh yeah, we're boring, pale and stale, as they love to say, and the Doyle. I hear Posh Gulchi's saying it like that, the Doyle doll. I just say doll. It's like our House of Commons, FYI, for anyone who's not Irish. But yeah, it is madness, exactly. Well put, FPSI. FPS Ireland. I'm after just realising. FPS Ireland 2. My eyes just got a little bit fuzzy there. FPS Ireland 2. There we go. It's funny because I do it with my own name, you know, AS Dan. It's ASD, like abbreviation for autism spectrum disorder. You'd think I'd know that better, but you can even see it right there. FPS Ireland 2. Thank you very much for your comment, and I completely agree. Um, Not anti-immigrant, no, no. If you come over here and you work hard, no issue whatsoever. And I've actually gone out with more foreign girls than Irish girls. What does that tell you? I just find Irish girls can be a bit too picky. Just saying. Very good looking Irish women, but I don't know. Foreign girls seem to like me more for some reason. Don't know. But I'm definitely not anti-immigrant because gone out with more of them. So bring more of them in. Thank you very much for that. And then we have Deet1558. You've left a few more comments down below, and don't worry, we will read them. I'm afraid so, mate. Irish government have well and truly stuck one on us. Everything will increase except wages and well-being. Yeah, 100%. You're absolutely right. So many people here are making a lot of sense, which I'm really glad to see. And you're dead right. Like, I was only saying, I've actually said it in 3 separate videos now, and this will be the fourth. But yeah, like it's mad. I remember before working in a cafe, and so this is, jeez, what would that be now? 2018, so 6 years ago. And I remember getting customers coming in who were, I'd say about not far off my age, but about 5 to 10 years older. Um, so millennial types, we'll say. But you get older people like from an older generation, like when you had elderly people. Now, a lot of them were fine, but some of them would come in and go, that's ridiculous. The price of that is insane. But the people from like the millennial age, um, so we'll say people in their mid to late 30s, they used to come in and they would pay €12 for a cup of coffee and a sandwich. And I'll be honest with you, I felt like apologizing to them. I was like, Jesus, that's ridiculous. Now, I wasn't pocketing that money. But in fairness, some of them would even leave tips. And there were a lot of elderly people too that, to be fair to them, did leave tips. John, I love John. Never stopped. He was a great lad. Um, you know, but I mean, the fact that nobody ever complained from, say, millennial or Gen Z, like my own generation. Yes, I'm ashamed to admit it, but yeah, because we're the generation that loves to get shot on. and we're last in the alphabet. So what does that tell you? But no, you're right. And I've looked at it, inflation through the roof, like everything has gone up in price, but wages have just not kept up with the times at all. Helen McEntee thinks it's reasonable enough to spend 600 grand for first time buyers on a house in Dublin, over 500,000. That's reasonable, is it? And then when you consider that I was applying for a job, which I'm going to talk about again, it was a lab assistant to a medical scientist. Um, so medical lab assistant basically, but your assistant like the head scientist, and like they have to be clever. They are very clever people. This looked like a really good job. Um, I was kind of just happy to get the experience, so I was like, yeah, yeah, no bother. Um, Kind of all right on the wages, but they said they wanted 6 years experience. I'm only 2 years out of college, so that's not happening. And they were only willing to pay 25 to 30 grand, and that's a range. So you imagine it's not going to be 30 grand, and that's annually, by the way, and not monthly. Just imagine if it was monthly, you'd be flying. Um, but yeah, like that's ridiculous, isn't it? It's really bad. Like, oh, would it be like just trying to think if it was monthly and it was 30 grand, like that'd be insane. Making 360 grand a year. You'd be doing all right, wouldn't you? But unfortunately no, not a chance. Um like that's very poor. And yeah, ideally you want to get your own place and move out and all that, but is it worth your while? Doesn't seem to be. Uh, Deep 1558, thank you very much. You've got more comments in there. Thank you very much for leaving that one. I left just a little comment myself. And yeah, look, I have to admit it and hold my hands up. I was getting a bit like it's them and us, but it's not. And yeah, I've worked a lot of menial jobs, like where literally everyone I was working with was foreign. And that's because they're the only ones willing to accept it. Like I worked as a kitchen porter, as I talked about before, and the only other people doing it were either lazy young fellas who did not bother their arse, they didn't care, and were taking really long breaks. Um, I worked with a few Syrian lads who, in fairness, Talal was a bit of a weirdo, but he did a good job. There's a young fella, Abdul, who was studying for the Leaving Cert, and geez, the boy worked crazy hours, and was working as a dessert chef. So I said to him, "Look, you don't worry about doing the dishes. I'll do that." But the work ethic on the boy was insane. The boy, he was only 2 or 3 years younger than me. The boy, but yeah, yeah, they've accepted and assimilated. People who assimilate, yeah, great, no problem at all. Um, but our do gooder government, hard one to say. Um, yeah, like it's mad, isn't it? They don't want to accept it. They don't want to admit it. Like I remember saying this before in school, and it sounded a lot like the government. I remember talking in business class, and we used to have really good discussions. But I said, a lot of people live off the dole. They do. They make a living on it. You know, they've no intention of going back to work. They get job seekers allowance, and they have absolutely no intention of working. And the teachers just blindly go, "Don't be ridiculous. Nobody wants to do that." And I said, "Are you blind? Like, are you actually serious? Do you not realize how many people in this country like are living off it, and Irish people doing it? You know, this isn't anti-foreigner. This is anti-scumbag." And that's what I talk about down here. Like, do you remember that horrific incident that happened in Parnell Street? I was actually in it, and that's where Fibber McGee's is. And I used to come down that exact road where the incident happened to that poor child. Um, but he was an Algerian national. He was due to be deported, and as I say here, even when the visa expires, no regulation. Fucker stayed in the country for another 20 plus years, and I'm calling him a fucker. What a scumbag! Like, and that's not anti-foreigner. That's anti-scum. Just like your man Joseph Pushka, who killed that poor young girl, Ashling Murphy. Yeah. and he was scamming the system in Czech Republic. I think he was Slovakian originally, um, Romani Gypsy. That's his ethnicity. Um, but all his family were staying in Ireland illegally, and he actually used the fact that he was a sex offender. Or SE, oh yeah, I'm just gonna say it. As you can see, I've blocked out these words, but you know what it is. You know what it is. But he used that fact to get put into special protection because he knew if he went into mainstream prison, they would beat the living shit out of him, and rightly so. You're a scumbag. I don't care what anyone says, and I don't think anyone will disagree with me on that. And if you do, what is wrong with you? Say, like, if you have a different opinion, debate me on it. But a man who did that to a young woman who had her whole life ahead of her, unprovoked, I'm sorry, but you've got very little, you've got no fucking defense. And then, like, you'll just see how ridiculous it is that they actually put it back on her poor boyfriend and tell him that he's incited hatred or whatever exactly they said. I'm paraphrasing again, but he did very well to keep it together. But they said he was inciting hatred because of what he said. You've ruined a young person's life and you're a piece of shit, basically. Um, you know, the love of my life is dead, but we are going to have a go at him. It's fucking ridiculous. They had a go at him while, basically saying he shouldn't have said what he said. What would you say to the man who murdered the love of your life? Just FYI, because it's fucking disgusting. There is no right or wrong way. Jesus, if he went and bet the living shit out of him, I wouldn't blame him. So how fucking sick is it to say to him, what you said is wrong? You should have thought before. Would you be thinking before you spoke? I know I wouldn't. But anyway. And yeah, I heard about a case before because, like I say, I'm not anti-immigrant, but letting those people into the country, right? I heard of an African woman before who was afraid for her daughter's life because there's a practice, a barbaric practice, um, in Africa where it's a pretty disgusting thing now, but female castration that was going to happen to her if they went back, and it's meant to be gruesome, like fucking disgusting. She said, "Please don't send us back, or this will happen to my daughter." That person deserves asylum, as far as I can tell, and they sent her back. If I can find the article, I will show it to you. I have to be careful about what I post, but look it up. There's many cases of people who are deserving of asylum that don't get it. So just to put it out there. But yes, we will let. I'm not going to say the words, but you can read them down there. I've highlighted them, because everyone deserves a second chance when they're a scumbag, right? But not when they're actually deserving of asylum and have never done anything wrong. And we're too sympathetic for the wrong kinds of people. We really are. I made a video talking about antisocial behaviour. You can also check that one out if you want. But yeah, basically just going how we're at the mercy of the wrong kinds of people, the absolute scum, and it shouldn't be that way. But we all have to suffer as a result of scumbags, it seems, because they deserve a second chance. Yet if you or I were done for parking tickets, we'd be expected to pay them, we wouldn't get away with it. But that's beside the point. Yeah. There we go. I've already talked about that there. That there. And Pidge WXM1, you made a few comments as well. I really appreciate it. And you've commented in other videos. Big shout out to you. Thank you very much. Stay strong, my brother. Will do. You also. The replies here. A Merry Christmas to you. Not alone. Nor are you, my friend. Thank you very much for your comment. Anytime you want to leave one, feel free. I'll try and get back to everybody as best I can. I'm really hoping this grows, but I'll try to respond to everyone. I promise you. The only reason I won't is if I don't see it or I miss it by accident. So thank you for that. HWXM1. Really appreciate it. And Ross O'Neill hyphen S2P. You made a few as well, and I really appreciate it. You're a good lad. You've said the problem is people have more friends online than in real life these days. Completely agree, including myself. Everybody, not including myself, but everybody does. We've never been as connected but disconnected at the same time. The lack of vitamin D due to the weather is also an issue. You're telling me, sister. Also, the quality of life. We can't afford homes yet have jobs. We're wealthy on paper but don't see the benefits. It makes no sense. Everyone's issues are relative to their coping skills. A non-issue to one is a catastrophe to another. 100%. Like it all depends on the individual. You're dead right there. Some people have coping skills, others don't. That's completely true. For instance, I've gotten much better through dialectical behavioral therapy and compassion focused therapy. That's made me so much more resilient. So bang on the money there, Ross. Thank you for that. Head up, brother. You're not alone. Thank you very much. Neither are you. You have purpose, and doing these videos demonstrates that you seem to be a lovely bloke. Thank you very much. I tried my best. You seem to be as well. Merry Christmas. Hope you had a good one. I did had a really good one, and I really appreciate that, Ross. And we're going to read through more of your comments down below. So stay with us. We have a few here. I think you've absolutely, yeah, you really couldn't have said any better. You did absolutely nail it, my friend. And yeah, just a shout out to us. We are great. Just gonna say it, we are. We're good people. Um, and we're appreciated around the world, just not in our own backyard, unfortunately. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. I'm quoting myself there, but it really baffles me that we have to go abroad to be appreciated. Ross responded, I enjoyed listening to you. Makes me feel less alone, and there's someone else having a similar experience. Every day is a challenge, but we're here for a reason. Just keep moving forward. Bravery is about being afraid and struggling, but facing it all head on anyway. You're doing that. Can't imagine what it's like to have had your experience, but I do understand pain and trauma, etc. Never feel bad for sharing your issues. That's bravery, and we don't do enough of it as men. You should read a book called Good Life. It's based on an 80-year-old Harvard study on happiness, and a book called Lost Connections. Both great reads. Might take you up on that. Thank you very much. I really appreciate everything you've said there. It's very nice to hear it. And yeah, we do feel less alone when someone shares a similar experience. It's not taking joy in the fact that other people are suffering. It's going, I am not alone. I'm not the first to experience this, and I won't be the last. Um, and you're right, we don't do enough of it as men. And it's not a fucking competition. Keep saying it, but it really isn't. If I say to you, I've been through this, and you say to me, yeah, I get that, and I experienced this, that's not you going, oh, well, I've had it. No, it's, I get you because of my experience, and people will say stuff like, I told you about me, and you didn't listen. And no, I'm trying to relate to you. If you didn't understand what I said, fair enough, but I'm not trying to outdo you. you know, it's not a competition on who's been the most traumatized. Who'd want to be the most fucking traumatized? I watch a channel called David Demar's Coaching. You can come to your own opinion about that. I know some people have said good, some people have said bad. I kind of like him. I don't really mind him, but some people have said, "Oh, why are you watching it?" I'm not going to comment either way. I found his stuff good, um, really good. But he makes all the points that you would not be watching my videos unless you were traumatized, because you wouldn't get anything from them if you had a perfectly good upbringing. That's a very good point. So it kind of reinstates the fact for me that lots of shit did happen. But you can doubt yourself. You can think to yourself, yeah, did that really happen? Was that really that bad? There are people who have it way worse than me. You see that back in my day, we had it worse. Does that fucking help me? No, it doesn't. You know, and I'm not denying a lot of people like we're very unresilient, or maybe we're not. Maybe that's very harsh. We've had a fucking global pandemic. Like our parents' generations, like the boomers and the Gen Xers, they hate all these terminologies, but kind of don't know what else to call them. But we'll just say like give the range of mid 40s to 60s, that kind of range, um, early 60s. But they all keep shouting on about how the world is your oyster and whatever, and everything's great now. Well, obviously it fucking isn't. Everyone's going abroad, the brain drain, as they call it. And now there was a reason for it before. But they keep saying there's loads of jobs out there. I've no doubt about that. But the more fucking reasons not to hire you than to hire you. Just give you a chance and see. Um, yeah, like I share my issues exactly for that reason, and I don't feel brave because of being at rock bottom. That gives you a certain level of I couldn't give a shit what you think because I've been as low as it gets. It's the only way is up when you hit rock bottom, um, and have attempted the final solution, ending it all, which I talk about in detail as well on my channel. That gives you a certain level of I couldn't give a shit anymore, which gives me a lack of fear, if you like, because I'm there just thinking I don't give a fuck. You want to call me a bad name? All right, go for it, because I've experienced way worse. You cannot do any worse to me. So Ross, really appreciate it. And then, yep, it's shitty being alone. You end up feeling weak and worthless. Yeah, when people invalidate you, of course. That's me again, quoting myself. 100%, mate. We deserve better. Taking for granted by the people that are supposed to lead us. Absolutely. And it really is the case where being shot all over. We really have. Like, again, I use the foreign example, but that's because I'm talking about Ireland. When my cousin from Holland came over to see me, he was amazed at how compliant we were with the COVID regulations. He said in Holland people are going ape shit, whereas here they're all wearing their masks and not refusing. And, there were a few people, but we were very diligent and respectful, and we really did just go, sure, looking after my neighbour. We're a lot more neighbourly and we look out for each other. That's in our nature. And hearing him saying it reinstated for me that we're compliant. We look out for each other. A lot of us got vaccinated. When you hear people saying, "Oh, I'm not putting that shit into my body," but they're the ones that drink and smoke, you know. But you're absolutely right. We do deserve better. You make a better quality of life for the future generations. We don't have to be entitled, but we can certainly demand that we're held to a higher standard. Look what they do in France. They seem to be rioting every day of the week because they just don't accept shit. Maybe we could take a bit of that. We're more like we don't like making a fuss. Maybe we should fucking start. And I'm not inciting people to riot. I'm just going to say that out there. Disclaimer: do not riot in the streets, but don't tolerate bullshit. You deserve better. We all do. And then just reading down here. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Even listen to them on Audible while you walk, killing two birds with one stone, if you get me. Happy Christmas to you and yours. Thank you very much, Ross. Really appreciate that. Um, and things are not as wonderful as people say. I'm full of really good quotes, haven't I? And yeah, they do. Like, if you guys, there's a comment down below that I'm not gonna mention it yet, but hearing all you guys relating gives me a little dopamine hit because I'm like, you get it. You know what it's like. Shit, let's hit the fan big time, and we're not alone. You guys have related to me. I relate to you. Like, we're all mentioning different stuff here, but the same thing. We're all struggling, you know. And it doesn't have to be that way. I think that's the whole point that everybody's saying. Everybody's making the point of nobody wants to be a guard nowadays. Very few people. Recruitment is down. Construction work is down. Let's just mention that now for a second, right? I was watching Politics Today, I think it's called, but basically on RTE, they had Pascal Donahue, Dara O'Brien, Owen O'Brien. Jeez, that's what was her name again? The one woman that was on it. I'm a sexist bastard. That sounds terrible, doesn't it? Jesus, that's bad. I'd never seen her before, though, whereas I have seen Dara O'Brien, Owen O'Brien, and Pascal. We can't forget him. Um, but it'll come back to me eventually. I think her name was Horahan, or Howrahan. That's how she might have pronounced it. Or second, NASA Howrahan. Is that her name? Yeah. Let me know anyway. But I'd never seen her before, whereas I have seen Owen O'Brien, Dara O'Brien, and Pascal before. So yeah, but they were talking about we're building more houses, but they want to build loads of houses, more houses than they built before. Can't remember the exact figures, but more than before, with less construction workers and less people getting involved in the trades. Why? Because they're more appreciated abroad, so they go abroad. Like Irish people are known for